Hi everyone, a warm welcome to all of you on Wondering Minds UGC Net YouTube प्लेटफॉर्म। कैसे हैं प्यारे साथियों आप सब। मैं एक बार फिर आप सब का वंडरिंग माइंड्स की UGC नेट यूट्यूब प्लेटफॉर्म पर वेलकम करता हूं। मैं एक बार फिर आप सब के बीच अपना रैपिड फायर सेशन सीरीज़ लेकर हाजिर हुआ हूं, जिसका आज हम यहां पार्ट 10 कंटिन्यू करेंगे। साथियों, जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं, हमारे जो इससे पहले 9 पार्ट्स हो चुके हैं उनमें आपको जो बुलेट पॉइंट्स दिए गए हैं वो एग्ज़ाम ओरिएंटेड हैं। PYQs में उन पॉइंट्स में से काफ़ी ज़्यादा क्वेश्चंस ऑलरेडी बन चुके हैं और अपकमिंग एग्ज़ाम्स में लाइक UGC नेट, GRF एंड PhD, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसरशिप, PGT इंग्लिश, लेक्चररशिप, सेट एग्ज़ाम ऑफ एनी स्टेट, बहुत ज़्यादा चांसेस हैं कि इन पॉइंट्स से आपको क्वेश्चंस देखने को मिलें। इसलिए आप सब इन पॉइंट्स को बहुत ज़्यादा सीरियसली लें और फुल कंसंट्रेशन के साथ इसे समझें, पढ़ें और याद करें। इसके अलावा अगर आपको हमारा बताया गया कंटेंट पसंद आता है तो आप सेशन को लाइक करें, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अपने फ्रेंड सर्कल्स में इसे शेयर करें ताकि और स्टूडेंट्स भी इसका बेनिफिट ले सकें। इसके अलावा अगर आपने वंडरिंग माइंड्स का व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप और टेलीग्राम ग्रुप ज्वाइन नहीं किया है तो आप उसे भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं। साथियों, लिंक्स आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में अवेलेबल करवा दिए जाएंगे, आप वहां से जाकर डायरेक्ट ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं। टेलीग्राम ग्रुप ज्वाइन करने का ये बेनिफिट है कि वहां आपको डेली 9 PM फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट एग्ज़ाम ओरिएंटेड क्विज़ेस कंडक्ट करवाई जाती हैं, जो कि एग्ज़ाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत ज़्यादा रेलिवेंट हैं। और वंडरिंग माइंड्स जो प्लेटफॉर्म है वो अपनी क्विज़ेस के दम पर ही चल रहा है और आगे भी चलता रहेगा। अब ज़्यादा टाइम न लगाते हुए हम अपनी फर्स्ट स्लाइड की तरफ चलते हैं। And our first and important point is Oliver Goldsmith play She Stoops to Conquer was first performed in 1773. Oliver Goldsmith is very important writer for net point of view, dear learners. Our next and important point about William Hazlitt. William Hazlitt describes the quality of greatness in the essay The Indian Jugglers. This essay is published in his collection of essays Table Talk 1821. Remember, dear learners, Table Talk collection of essays by William Hazlitt is very important for net point of view. Our next and important point, Elizabeth Bennet Browning, wife of Robert Browning, sonnets called from sonnets from the Portuguese because she presented it under the guise of a translation from the Portuguese language. Our next and important point is the play Clouds by Aristophanes is an attack on modern education and morals as imparted and taught by the radical intellectuals known as the Sophists. Again, I repeat, the play Clouds by Aristophanes is an attack on modern education and morals as imparted and taught by the radical intellectuals known as the Sophists. Our next and important point about Virginia Woolf, the great writer, her novel The To the Lighthouse in 1927. A painter in the act of painting actually figures as a character, Lily Briscoe. Remember, dear learners, the character who painted is Lily Briscoe. Our next and important point. In his fiction, Ian McEwan more than often suggests the Fragility of Love. McEwan has been memorized for the Man Booker Prize 6 times so far, and his novel Amsterdam won the prize in 1998. Our next and important point about blended learning is a mode of instruction learning in which a variety of instructional modes are integrated. It is combination of offline and online learning. Our next and important point, the character Willy Loman in Arthur Miller's play Death of Salesman compares Biff and Happy to the mythic characters figures Adonis and Hercules. Our next and important point about Girish Karnad. Girish Karnad bases his play Hayavadan on Thomas Mann's novella Transposed Heads, a legend of India, because it is a more heroic transcription of the original Sanskrit tales. Our next and important point, the collected poems of A.K. Ramanujan has been divided into four sections. They in chronological order are the Striders, the Relation Second Sight, the Black Hen. Our next and important point about morality plays. Morality plays are dramatized allegories of the life of man. They depict man's temptation and seeming his quest for salvation and his confirmation with death. Our next and important point about Northrop Frye. According to Northrop Frye, there are four main narrative genres associated with the seasonal cycle of spring, winter, autumn, and summer. They are comedy, romance, tragedy, and irony, that means satire. Our next and important point in Derek Walcott's play Dream on Monkey Mountain. Remember, dear learner, Derek Walcott is very important writer for net point of view. In her play Dream on Monkey Mountain, Makak's vision of freedom for his people is through a decolonization of the mind. Derek Walcott comes from Saint Lucia in West Indies. Our next and important point, Jaya is the protagonist of Shashi Deshpande's novel That Long Silence. Remember, dear learners, Shashi Deshpande and her novel That Long Silence is also very important for net point of view, and the protagonist of this play is Jaya. It is feminist novel based on the subjugation and silence of women. Our next and important point for net point of view is the Bengali playwright Badal Sarkar wrote more than 50 plays, and some famous play among them are Bhuma, Ivam Indrajit, and that other history. Remember, dear learners, Bengali playwright Badal Sarkar is also very important for net point of view. Learn his all works. Our next and important point, U.R. Ananthamurthy's novel Sanskara was translated by A.K. Ramanujan. Girish Karnad made his acting as well as screenwriting debut in a Kannada movie Sanskara in 1970 based on novel by U.R. Ananthamurthy is very important writer, also a PYQ dear learner. Remember it in December 2023. Our next and important point is Understanding Poetry by Death by Clint Brooks and Robert Penn used to be a classic textbook that encapsulates the principles of new criticism. This point is also very important. Understanding Poetry by Clint Brooks and Robert Penn used to be a classical textbook that encapsulates the principles of new criticism. Our next point is Toni Morrison's book Playing in the Dark is a series of reflections, whiteness, and the literary imagination. Our next and important point about Doris Lessing. Doris Lessing's interest in Sufism widely recognized. Idries Shah introduced her to Sufism. Doris Lessing is born in Persia in Iran. Now, our next and important point about Edward Said's Orientalism, that is also very important for net point of view. The Europeans used the East dialectically to describe their self-image, irrational and primitive. The Oriental people used the West oppositionally to define their self-image as rational and modern. Our next and important point about David Malloff's novella An Imaginary Life is a retelling of the story of Ovid during his exile in Tomiz. The historical name of Constantine, a city of Romania. Our next and important point about Tom Stoppard's play Dirty Linen and Newfoundland is a pair of plays which are always performed together. Our next and last point, which is also very important for net point of view, James Coetzee novel Waiting for the Barbarians centers around racial strife and power struggles in a fictional colonial village. The novel's life is taken from Greek poet Constantine P. Kivifies the poem Waiting for the Barbarians. That's all for dear learners for this session. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.